it is very, very important to really spend a lot of time thinking what kind of product, what kind of services you would want to offer. Not only is that going to determine the kind of asset you're looking for, but it's also going to determine pricing, your search strategy, your marketing strategy, the kind of people you target, and finally come across that thing that you're looking for. Episode 5 of the Karisma Journey. I can't believe we're already on to number 5. And in case you're new, Karisma is my dream business that I've been kind of working on in the background for the last 2 years. Things are about to take off. And so I want to share all these lessons, all these experiences with you. Karisma specifically is a community-first co-living startup out of Barcelona with the mission of inspiring and empowering creators, with K, the members of our community, to live their dream lives. And what we do is we create intentional co-living spaces and experiences, bringing like-minded people together to really accelerate each other in all areas of life, while also having a good fucking time. Up until now, we have just been on the process of building the brand, building the community. Since February, we did this through co-living retreats, short-term remote work experiences, so to say, colliding entrepreneurship, personal growth, life experiences, community, all these different things. And now we're moving on to phase 2, which is actually opening up the first physical co-living space of Karisma. In the last episodes, we have been searching for a property non-stop. A co-living space is a flexible form of accommodation that's community-based, right? That is ideal for the remote work era. It allows people, especially remote working professionals, to come to a new place, a new destination, come and stay there for as long as they need with everything they need, right? All the furniture, the work setup, while also living with like-minded people. You come to a place, you automatically know people, and in some cases, there's an intentional community behind it. And so in my case, I was sharing how I want to inspire people to live their dream lives. And I genuinely believe that who you surround yourself with has a massive impact, can be truly transformational. So I really want to bring in people that are entrepreneurially minded. So not just entrepreneurs, but also content creators, artists, philosophers, athletes, adventurers, generally people who pursue their most authentic calling. Let's dig in today into what it takes to actually find the right property. Not just whether you're a co-living brand, but also maybe if you want to get into real estate, maybe you want to build your own side hustle. The reason I'm sharing this is because this is a model, a real estate model that is actually very easy to replicate. So I'm going to get into what model I'm using, what asset you should pick, how to negotiate, and all the different steps I took to really get this business model up and going. So we're gonna start with the model, which is the rent to rent model. Very, very simple and a very underrated model in which I basically rent out a property, this property right here. Instead of owning it, which would normally cost so much money, find this property who's already owned by somebody else. And then basically I go to this person and I say, hello, my name is Mark. I would love to rent out your property and use it over a long period of time. And during this period, I would like to rent it out to all the individual people in terms of rooms. So this is the rent to rent model. This is very, very good if you just want to get started. The other option would be to actually own a property, which requires a lot of capital. In this case, all your expenses are pretty much the deposit, realtor fees, and once you find that agreement, most of the time, the ideal asset, which I'm going to get into a little bit more in depth right now, is one that is empty, right? It doesn't require a lot of reformation. You don't need to tear down a lot of walls. It's just an empty space that's just ready, but just needs that furniture. So then on top of it, all you gotta do is add the furniture and interior design. This is your capex, right? Like this is your initial expenditure. And then on top of it, you also have the OPEX, which are the operating expenses, which would be your monthly rent, utilities, maybe you use tech, marketing expenses, Wi-Fi, all these juicy things. And so this is the very first part. And so you're like, okay, this is interesting. I want to get into this. What do I do? Well, the very first thing you have to figure out, what assets do I pick? This is very important because before you start searching for just random properties all over the place, it's very important to be very strategic, to work smart towards a very specific goal. What am I really looking for? What kind of asset do I really want, right? We already said no need for big reformation. Well, actually, no furniture. It depends on the model you want to get into, right? The cool thing about the rent-to-rent model is that, you can really increase the margin depending on how many services you add on top of it, right? So one of the bigger questions is, what product or service am I building, right? Are you just like wanting to get something like super, hands off, where you don't put in a lot of work, you just put the very basic furniture, you give it to an agency or someone who just runs it for you, you forget about it? Are you trying to perhaps build something a little bit more intentional? Do you want to go for something very high end, right? Because you can have the same skeleton, the same place, the same property, and just put some very basic things and just rent it out very cheaply. Or you can actually really invest very highly into the interior design. There's a lot of things that go into it, right? If in my case, where I'm building a co-living space, it's also very important to consider the time spent within the space, right? So you don't want to just get something that's very claustrophobic. You want a place where people can also work from. The rooms are big enough, where there's a very nice common area so that people can really spend a lot of time with each other. So it really depends on what you are trying to accomplish. In my case, I really wanted to add my own personality, my own touches. So I decided to go with no furniture so I could really pimp it out myself, right? Really add that service layer on top of it. I also, wanted a very nice ratio of bedrooms to bathrooms, maximum 1 bathroom for every 2 people. Okay, that already reduces it. In my case, I was already looking at above 80 square meters. The location, also really, really important. You just want to have, if your sole purpose is just to have cash flow, it doesn't really matter so much. If you really want to provide an experience where people can immerse themselves in the local culture, then maybe the location actually can make a difference, right? And so these are some of the main things you start doing, and then it's time to search. And trust me, the search is going to take time. So it's very important to work smart. So the search part is actually the most challenging part of all, because you're going to someone you don't know and someone who doesn't know you, and you're telling them, hey, I would love to have your property and make a business out of it. Most people are gonna be like, what the fuck? In my case, I tell them, very upfront what it is that I want to do, right? I'm very upfront from the very beginning so that I'm not wasting any of my time. From the very beginning, I'm like, hello, my name is Mark. I'm a business and I dedicate myself to hosting entrepreneurs and creators. Is this something the owner would be interested in? Because most of the time you're talking to the realtor instead of the final owner from the very beginning. And then there, they're like, no, they're not interested. There you can really start getting into the sales aspect, which is something you're going to tweak over time. Because the real sales starts once you get the first no. So, oh, no, not interested. Is it no because, they're only looking for a family and they don't want to have heavy rotation? Yes, that's right. Okay, well, actually, we are looking to get into a long-term contract, right? And we're also going to invest into the property, Then you can really share your spiel and all these different things. But don't be afraid to go for the no, and actually expect a lot of no's, a lot of no's. Sales is really a numbers game, right? It took me way more than I anticipated. I've gotten over 200 no's. I've put down like 3 or 4 reservations. One owner so far was like, hey, you know what? I'd love to meet them and understand better their model. So be very patient in this regard. Very, very patient. It's gonna become so messy. It's gonna be so hard. And so it's nice to also know, okay, I need to call this property by this date specifically. And I think that's very, very important. So it's definitely recommend the CRM. And I've just noticed how so much of life is just sales. I already touched on what model to pursue, which is the rent to rent, what asset to look for, how to even search. Again, every different country is going to have many different platforms. I do have some mentors who are just helping out, who have gone through a similar process before, but I also hired someone who has helped me tremendously, from the legal point of view with the contracts, who already did all these things in the past, who's helped me out with negotiation, how to negotiate about it. If you would like for me to go more in depth into any of these topics that I've mentioned or anything that I haven't mentioned at all, please pop it down in the comments. All right, I hope this was all very, very valuable to you. If you got to the end of this video, thank you so, so much. I really, really appreciate it. You're more than welcome to subscribe to really, stay in the loop with this entire journey. I'm going to be sharing all the different milestones, all the updates, all the lessons, how the business goes. And if we get a yes from the owners, which I have a very good feeling for, you can expect to see some befores and afters, how we pimp out the space, how we do all the interior design, how we manage to really fill it up. There's so many things that have yet to be shared. I know that good times are coming. I'm very, very confident. But again, time will tell. So if you got to the end of this video, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. Let me know, in the comments if there's anything you'd like to see, if you have any questions, if you want me to go over any of this specifically. And if you enjoyed it, give it a like, do whatever you want. Subscribe, whatever. But yeah, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it and see you very, very soon.